All right, everyone, we start off today talking about Florida. A lot of Florida lately in the news. We've got the Florida manatee that killed its own brother through penetration. And then we've got malaria, actually, and dengue fever. And, of course, every other day you get some sort of crime report from Florida about some zonky and whacked-out crime. Somebody just went crazy over a can of beans and decided to chase his neighbor and hatchet him to death and stuff like that. I mean, Florida man is a meme for a reason, but now they've got leprosy, and it appears to be endemic leprosy. Leprosy cases in the United States are rare, about 100 to 150 cases a year. Again, many of them clustered in Florida. Normally, it's because somebody ate an armadillo. Armadillos are a natural reservoir for this particular disease because they have a low body temperature. So the leprosy can survive on their skin and in their bodies easily. It doesn't deal with higher temperatures very well. So the armadillo is a good host for it for some... I don't exactly know what biological reason it is for that, but that's just canonical. Mostly so, people interacted with a leper or with an armadillo, and that's how they got leprosy. Well, we don't have leper colonies in the United States, so eliminating that particular possibility, most often it's contact with armadillos. In some cases, though, according to this new research, and there's a tale about yet another leprosy case there. Dude was probably infected 10 years ago and never realized it till recently, so gets put on antibiotics now. They're finding that a significant portion of those cases do not involve foreign travel, so you didn't go to the subcontinent and visit a leper colony doing charitable work. That would be one way to get leprosy. And they didn't ever contact an armadillo. To their knowledge, they've never interacted with one. Now, an armadillo could wander around in their backyard shedding leprosy, and then they go outside and cut the grass and they're getting leprosy all over them. It's possible they could have accidentally ended up interacting with their feces or something like that, or perhaps they didn't know it was an armadillo. They thought it was a possum because they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about, and they handled the corpse to dispose of it or something like that, roadkill. It's possible. But at least some of those cases presumptively involve them getting leprosy and never having come into contact with a known source of leprosy, which means that leprosy is out there in the Orlando area. How fun! Quickly growing area with more and more people in it, and thus more and more chances for human beings to come into contact with endemic leprosy. Tropical climate, lots of armadillos around actually, I think I saw one when I was in Florida. I know I saw one when I was in Texas. I was like, what the fuck is that? Because I'd never seen one before. They don't exactly exist in Vermont. I don't think they would like the climate very much. Now, being non-glib, all right, here's the good news. The good news is that leprosy is not highly contagious. People can work in a leper colony for 10 years, never get leprosy. It's difficult to contract leprosy, including if you're handling armadillos, maybe a 1 in a million chance that you get it. So unless you're an armadillo farmer, you probably don't have to worry too much about leprosy. Maybe you take some prophylaxis if you are. Don't know why you would farm armadillos. I don't know. Some crazy live streamer. Here's the 24/7 armadillo farm. Probably be quite lucrative, actually. Maybe Tim Pool should invest in that. Just make sure to wear gloves when you go pet the armadillos. Anyway, generally speaking, it's very difficult to contract leprosy. It's considered a terrible disease, not so much for its ability to spread, but because of the disfigurement. And of course, until modern antibiotics, there was no treatment for it. And so if you got leprosy, probably at some point you lost your fingertips and your toes. You would end up disfigured, crippled actually, and it would be a mark that you are a leper. People would strenuously avoid you. And later on, they begin to understand, well, I'm probably, the leper walking by in the street is not going to give me leprosy, likely, so whatever. Sanitary methods effectively kicked leprosy out of the Western Hemisphere. Other than, again, the endemic reservoir in Florida, I don't think there's any other proposed reservoir other than armadillos existing anywhere in the United States. I don't think there's ever been a native leprosy case in half the U.S. anyway. It's too cold for armadillos. Europe doesn't really have leprosy, although it was endemic back in the medieval era and so forth, partially through sanitation. So if things are sanitary, you've got modern cleaning techniques, it's lowering the viral and bacterial load for a host of different pathogens. That goes a long way. Sanitary, this is what we did with polio. It wasn't all just vaccinating people. Half the effort was clearing out grain silos, making sure that grain storage was better so rats didn't get into it and poop in the food. Kids were getting polio from their breakfast cereal up through the 50s. We eradicated it. That was a big part of it. Malaria in the United States. It wasn't all pesticide being deployed. It wasn't all the help of DDT that got rid of the Anopheles mosquito in most parts of the U.S. It was also literally draining the swamp. Something we need to do in D.C. as well. But in Florida's case, I wouldn't worry about an epidemic of leprosy because it just doesn't spread well enough to do so. I would still probably be mildly concerned, though, to live in an area where there's a 1 in 100,000 chance or something that I get a disease that 10 years later starts to deaden my nerve endings and reduce the blood flow to my extremities to the point where my toes turn black. I'd probably be kind of cautious when I'm out in nature. Yeah, if I saw an armadillo, I'd probably strenuously avoid it. Yeah, okay, a cute little snuffly creature, it's kind of bald looking, it looks like a giant rat with armor on or something like that, but maybe I want to pet it, but leprosy just ain't worth it. Even if you pet the armadillo, you're probably fine, but why fucking take the risk just to pet the armadillo? What I would worry about, though, is something we've seen fairly recently, which is mutation. I said before the pandemic, for years, that it was coming and it would be the result of mutation, effectively. All the known diseases you can treat for the most part. Of them, their transmission rates. They go epidemic during flu season or something like that, but it would require mutation, a novel disease, at least in part, to create the next big pandemic since the Spanish flu. Indeed, that's what happened. It just wasn't coming from nature. By the way, that means technically we're still due for one from nature as well. With more people and more travel in the world, it is coming at some point in the future. Do not think that the totally not engineered COVID-19 virus nullifies what nature wanted to do. It's operating on its own time schedule. That one is still coming. We're actually a few years overdue for it. So, yeah, I'm sure it just coincidentally happened around election season or something. Honk, honk. Anyway, I wouldn't worry about this. I would worry about the disease to come. With every person or everything that's infected by leprosy, there's always that 1 in a trillion chance that one particular virus, that one particular bacteria, that one particular parasite is the one that mutates and becomes just a little bit too transmissible for your good. And then it just happens to infect someone and start spreading. Leprosy in its current form is not really a threat. It's easily treatable, although it's a prolonged treatment, expensive. We've been knocking it out of nation after nation for a while anyway. Really, again, armadillos are the only place that you can get it outside of the Indian subcontinent at this point. Basically, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, a few of those countries still have leprosy. Everywhere else, it's been effectively eradicated. Unless there's an armadillo population around, you don't have to worry at this point anywhere else in the world other than South Central Asia. That being said, it can always mutate. It can always get worse. What would be the real kicker is airborne rabies. Well, the world would not survive that for very long. That's about all. Peace out.